I think it recorded that too. All right. All right. Aw, my camera's not on. I'm just a blank space. Let's see. Eh? Eh? Camera? Aw. I should have probably checked this before we got started. How sad. Okay. Hold on a sec.
Yeah, no problem.
Camera. Oh no, camera's like totally asleep. It's just like, I'm out, dude. What am I using the camera for if I'm not using it for this? Okay, so Dom's camera working. My camera not working. Slob's client. No, we don't want that. Man, we're chewing up time here. All right, I guess we'll just not. I just won't have a camera this time. That's cool. I'll just be a mysterious black box. All right, I'm down for it. So there's twice as much pressure for you to be handsome because I'm not there to carry half of the handsome along with us. Unless we end it and then we start again after but I feel like we already started. We just kind of have to like own it at this point.
All right.
All right.
I mean, we're meeting our thumbnail standards.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. So it's Friday night. Enter your VTuber era. I am trying to save up money for a VTuber. It's very expensive to get a good one, and I could never settle for not a good one. But someday, I think within a year, there's going to be a very crash-sounding chamomile doing half of my streams. So,
I mean, you could be a PNG tuber.
No, PNG tuber. That's like dollar store, man. I don't want a dollar store. No, actually, that would probably be better than nothing. So, yeah. All right. So we're gonna talk this week about Homebrew versus Prewritten adventure. And now that we have your attention, it's not really gonna be versus. We're just gonna talk about the difference. So, hear me out, Dom. I have a 5-tier system for Homebrew, and I'm gonna share it, and you tell me if it sounds right or not. You know what I'm saying? If it needs any kind of adjustment. Okay. So at the very top, you have official raw WotC adventure, or if you're a Pathfinder kid, it's a Paizo adventure, etc., right? It comes from the source. The milk comes directly from the cow, right? It's the purest cocaine tabletop. That's what it is. So that's the top of the pile as far as Prewritten goes. Then below that, you have things that you could buy in the DM's Guild or Drive Through RPG, which apparently I have to sign in. All right, hold on. Yeah, man, we just have like the most professional podcast. This is awesome. All right, so I consider anything that people have put the effort into publishing to be a pre-written product, right? I consider that to be a pre-written product still. So they have taken the effort to put that into a PDF. They've jumped through the hoops to put it onto the internet. They're losing 50% of all of their sales to DM's Guild. They're losing 30 to 35% of all their sales to Drive Through RPG. Or even they're selling it through their coffee, their Patreon, their website. But they are taking the effort to do as much and as professional a job as they can, but it's still not official, right? It's like very close, but it's not the same as being fully official. So that's like
if it's being sold,
yes,
like as a professional thing.
Yes. So a published product, I would consider pre-written. So below that, you have conversion homebrew. So that's where you took an official product and you changed it a little bit. So Curse of Strahd, but you were like, it's going to be pirates, right? Or in my case, Red Hand of Doom, but it's going to be 5th edition. things like that. So you're still using a pre-written product, but you are having to change it to match up with your rule set and your system. So that's in the middle. So then we've got Homebrew. And that's where you were like, hey, there's nothing out there that I could purchase or find to do the thing that I need to do. So I'm going to just do it myself, right? It's a DIY of tabletop. That's in my opinion, that's what Homebrew is. All these other things that I've listed are not homebrew, but I consider pure homebrew to be the DM or the group is like, we couldn't find these answers anywhere. We didn't want to find these answers anywhere. We didn't want to purchase these answers from anywhere. We made it up ourselves. This is what we've got. And so that's homebrew. And then below that are the DMs that don't do any prep. So, like, you just show up to play D&D, and they're just pulling it out of thin air. They're just making the whole game up as they go along. Everything is just randomly generated from their belly button. Like, there's no notes. Nothing's written down. Everything's just free form. Whose line is it anyways?
Yeah. At that point, you're pretty much improv.
Right, exactly. So like that's my what's up, Burning Out? That's my scale, right? Is it goes from at the top a WotC or a Paizo or a whoever official adventure, and then it trickles down into, hey, I got nothing. Let's just throw some dice and like make stuff up. I don't know. Yeah, take some shots. I don't know. Like, hey, this is fun. So, do you feel that that's a pretty good meter for like the homebrew scale of like what is pre-written versus what is completely homebrew?
Yeah, I think so. That middle section, like it is definitely the middle section where you're homebrewing a written adventure.
Right.
So
exactly.
So I think that's a perfect middle ground. And then I think the two sides are there. I know the like you going on DM's Guild and coming up with and publishing your own adventure. It is pre-written, but it also is. I guess if a lot of people when they think of homebrew, they think of anything that's not
official. Absolutely.
Official.
Oh, nice to see you, Samurai Fun. Awesome. So anything that's not the top tier, right? The official from the company is technically homebrew. I like to say that anyone that has put in the effort to write a product, a professional product that you've paid money for, I feel like that's a pre-written product. Like, you can just follow what's in that product and run the adventure. That's pre-written, in my opinion.
So I think the thing here is that pre-written and homebrew are not like opposites of each other or separate from each other. It's, you can have a homebrew thing that's been pre-written for you. You know, like someone can come up with an idea and then write, like, say somebody who they couldn't find the answer out of the way. They didn't want to pay anything for that answer. And then they go ahead and make up that answer and then package it up into an area and sell it. At that point, it's homebrew, but it's also pre-written because somebody, made it together. So I think the scale is good for what we're gonna talk about. It's perfect for what we're gonna talk about. But I think the big thing now that we just cracked open is that homebrew and pre-written are not separate from each other. They're not like, is it pre-written or is it homebrew? It could be both or neither. So I think the scale is good for what we're going to talk about in terms of like, okay, do I want to get this thing from the direct source, or do I want to find somebody else who has come up with something that the direct source didn't come up with and try it out? Now, about whether, I guess on the DM side of whether, okay, should I try and make something up myself, or should I go and look for a pre-written adventure? I'm on the boat of I rather go look for something pre-written than make it up myself, or find something that's pre-written and then make adjustments to it for myself.
Right.
Yeah.
That is 100% where I'm at. I can't stomach a WotC adventure as written. Yeah. Oh, is Dom echoing a bit? I can turn him down so it doesn't echo as much. I finally got my webcam working though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it's not dark. It's not. You're not in the darkness either.
Yeah, I have these lights on, so because like I have to carry 50% of the Handsome. Like he's got 50%, 50%, 100% Handsome. So, but I have helpers. I got my air conditioning robot and chamomile back there. So
Yeah,
and you got your cute cats. You got your cute cats somewhere around there. So somewhere around there. It's like a Where's Waldo with the cats. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't stomach just running a WotC adventure. I always want to change it. I always want to adapt it. I always want to modify it. The closest I've come to running an adventure 100% as written is I was looking at Curse of Strahd, and without too many spoilers, I was like, this is actually a very good adventure. I was like, this is a good adventure. But I listened to the whole book because I don't know how to read. So I had I listened to somebody else read me the entire book. And I was like, that was solid. That's a good adventure. You could run that adventure as is, and it would be a good adventure. But it could be better. And then inevitably, I found things from Lunch Break Heroes, all sorts of different like recommendations online. Mandy mods, completely like reinventing some of the parts of the game, adding amazing extras to the game. I did reach a point where I was like, I don't want oversaturation. There's so much extra content you could add to Curse of Strahd. I don't want another Odyssey, right? Like, I want to focus on the core story, but I do want to enhance the moments in the story to be cooler. And if I can, tailor them to my group, tailor them to the player characters a bit more. I feel like that's just good DMing. I hear about groups that run 100% raw, and it just breaks my heart. It just breaks my heart. Like, they play raw rules, they play raw adventure. Like, the DM is like a proctor of an exam. Like, they're just there to present to you the official adventure as written and help you through that adventure. Like, they're not like a storyteller. They're like a director who has a script. They're like, we have to stick to the script. So here's the script, and I'm going to try my best to make it fun, but we're not changing anything. And so, like, if you get to a fight and the fight is too hard, they're like, well, I'm sorry, that's just how it is. And if you get to an amazing boss fight, a boss fight that's been built up for like the last 4 months, and the adventure says, this guy's just a ghost. I guess he's just a ghost. And that's the and that's it. Like, I can't do that. I don't think I've ever been able to do that in the 28 years I've been playing tabletop. I've never been able to do that. So I guess that's the thing. Like, Dom, do you know of any groups? Have you played with any groups? Have you been that group that just tried to do everything raw?
When I first started, and I was like, oh man, D&D is kind of cool. I want to try it. And then I don't have a DM, so I was like, you know what? It's a pandemic. I want to talk to my friends, so let me see if they want to play D&D. And I I'll get Roll20 and go on, and I get the essential kit, and I'm running the essential kit exactly how the essential kit is ran. And everybody I'm playing with hardly ever played D&D before. One person is a little bit more experienced. They're the one who got us into D&D in the first place. And so when I went through that, it was we didn't finish it, but it was full on SRD orcs going through the event is like, okay, here's the quest, here's the map, this is what's here, and we went through it.
Everybody probably had fun, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did have a lot of fun. We didn't finish, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. They almost got killed by orcs, because the adventure said to this many orcs, 4 times the many orcs as the PCs or something like that.
Oh yeah, and like 5e orcs, I mean, they ain't as good as 4th edition orcs, but a 5e orc is not a bad monster. Aggressive, dropping a D12 at low levels. I mean, they score a crit. That's a dead level 1 player character for sure. Yeah.
So we did do that, and I actually but going through it, I realized that these guys are new, and then watching other games being played and stuff like that. As I was going through this, I was like, maybe I can make a change here, and then that's how I started.
Oh, nice. Okay. So, the long ongoing history of my playing D&D. I played HeroQuest when I was 10. That was kind of my introduction to tabletop dungeon crawling. And even that, at the very back of the book, there was a blank quest. Like, it was a blank quest template. And we had, these things called photocopiers. So, you beg and you plead to go to the public library, and you put, I believe it was like 10 cents. If you could imagine what a 10 cents piece looks like, you put a 10 cent in there, and then you could make a copy of the adventure. And if I had a whole dollar, that was like 10 quests you could make, right? So immediately I was like, well, we can't play regular Hero Quest anymore. Like, we played through it, but now we're gonna make our own. And that was pretty much like homebrewing and dungeon mastering for me at like age 10. It was like, oh, this is how it is. When I got into D&D, I was completely self-taught because I started when I was 13, and it was still when it was kind of satanic. Well, okay, I mean, it's still pretty satanic, but it was when it was bad to be satanic, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, there wasn't, like, a lot of people, and we didn't have the internet. And so it was like, you couldn't just find people to play, you couldn't go online and find people to play. So I, a terrible student, a terrible C student, taught myself Dungeons and Dragons 2nd edition, and then taught my friends to play. And it didn't occur to me that you could buy an adventure, like, because the books, the core books, told me I had to write an adventure. And so from the get-go, I was always writing my own stuff, and I was always running my own stuff. And that doesn't mean it was good. When I actually went to a game store that had like books and stuff, when I realized that there were adventures that you could buy, my mind was blown. I was like, oh my gosh, this changes everything. Like, you could just buy an adventure. And I would buy adventures the way normal people would buy like novels. You know what I'm saying? Like paperback novels. I would buy adventures just to read adventures. As a child, like as a young dungeon master who had no one else to teach him, I was taught by written adventures, by pre-written adventures. And because, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I read them, and I was like, oh, this is how you design an encounter. Oh, this is how you would set up a trap. Oh, this is how you would have a town inside a dungeon. I learned the game from pre-written adventures. So in my heart, I've always loved pre-written adventures, but at the same time, I've never been able to just run a pre-written adventure as is. I always want to change it. I always want to add stuff to it. I always want to like move stuff around. I always want to spice it up a little bit. Yeah. So
and regardless, like every table is different. Has different characters there. They're gonna have different motivations. So you just like some of the best adventures are the ones that like remind the DM that you should make changes here because depending on what your character likes. So they give you options and they say this and this can happen based if you have a character that's kind of like this, or one of your characters believes in this, or maybe these are some of the motivations your characters can have to do that. Those are some of the best adventures.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I like adventures that are more like guidelines, like the pirate code. They're like, this is the adventure. But if your group is more like this might happen. And if your group is more like that might happen. Like the ones that take that extra step, like the adventure I just wrote, I have like a good guy ending and a bad guy ending. Because if your party is a bunch of murder hobos, like they need to be cared for too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I like adventures that kind of take that into consideration and give people a bit more to work with, a bit more flexibility. One of the big complaints that I hear about, God, this is such a huge topic, but as a paid DM, when I first started doing paid DMing, I was told by other paid DMs at the time, if you're not running something official, like you're gonna struggle to fill your games. Because like nobody trusts a homebrew campaign. Like nobody trusts a homebrew campaign. I don't think that's the case nowadays. But I think at the time it was actually pretty spot on.
I honestly, it might be still kind of true because I feel like if you go on and look at what games are being advertised on like Start to Play and Roll20 and stuff like that, yeah, there's a few homebrew stuff, but most of them are written adventures,
Right.
and those are the ones that have like 5 games, lined up for one DM. Like, oh, like I have 5 of these written, and then they have like only all of them are missing like one spot, or have like 4 to 7,
God,
seven. They have like 7 people in them.
Blah.
They're full. So honestly, I think it's still the same. Like people when they go and look for D&D, unless the DM is like known or word of mouth or something like that. It's a lot of it is probably just pre-written adventures, because even when I first started like trying to look for stuff to play, I was looking for pre-written adventures to join, like and not necessarily WotC official, but something that was published. Like I went and looked for Odyssey of the Dragon's Lord to try and find a group to play in that. I went to look for what'd you call it, Waterdeep Dragon Heist.
Right.
When I first started being a player, I needed to find, because I don't like me getting into D&D and just hearing stuff from people. Like I go on Reddit, I go on Google, like, what is D&D like? And you hear just horror stories.
You're right.
So as a person who didn't know and just looked up stuff, I watched homebrew stuff. Like the main way I got into D&D was watching Twitch streams that Twitch actual plays. That's how I originally got interested in D&D. And then somebody at my job was like, "Hey, I have a bunch of stuff for D&D. Why don't we start a group in the office?" And it was just moving on from there. But and it was a homebrew. So if that DM was running a game and he was gonna do a homebrew thing, I have the reference behind it. So
right.
I want to do that. Whereas an official stuff, I can go and look up what the adventure is and be like, okay, this is what this adventure is about. That sounds cool. I'll try and see if I can join in this adventure.
So for how it was explained to me was there's 2 different appeals for running a pre-written adventure. The first one is professionalism. So if the DM has a pre-written adventure, you are less likely to run into the DM burning out because they have to come up with everything themselves. You're less likely to wind up with weird scenarios that don't make any sense because the DM thinks that they're a great writer, but they aren't a great writer. You're less likely to wind up listening to the DM read you the novel they're secretly working on that, their D&D campaign is. And so on and so forth. Like, it's more professional. It's more formal, right? It's like, oh, we all agreed that we're going to play Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Like, when I show up to play Waterdeep Dragon Heist, I don't want to end up at, like Heckna's Carnival, right? Because that's not what I signed up to play. Yeah, I signed up to play Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Like, my expectations are there because that's what you said we were going to do, right? This is a dangerous spot for me as a person that has a tendency to like homebrew a lot of pre-written adventures. I have had players contact me and say, "Hey man, like I signed up to play this campaign and you advertised this campaign, but it doesn't feel like I'm playing that campaign. It feels like you changed everything." And I'm like, yeah, like I agree though. I agree. Like, yeah. I mean, like you're not wrong. But how do you know, right? How do you know? Like, it's like, well, I mean, I watched this other stream play through it, and it's like, okay, so you already knew it was happening, and now you're upset because it's not happening exactly how it's supposed to happen. It's kind of weird. But the other reason is that reason, right? People want to feel like they're a part of something, right? Like you don't want to be alone, right? You want to be a part of a community. So like, I want to be able to say, "Oh, I played Waterdeep Dragon Heist," or, and then somebody else says, "Me too," and then we could talk about it and we could commiserate about it, and it's a shared experience. It's like, "Oh, your DM did this. Oh, wow, we used the autumn plot line. Oh, you guys did spring. What was that like? What was the main bad guy like? Oh man, well in my game we had so and so as the main bad guy, and my DM did this and this. Did you guys have Blue Alley, the DLC Blue Alley? No? Okay, well, we did. It was crazy. It actually added some, like, much needed, like, little dungeon crawling at the side. And so you have this, like, shared experience where you can kind of talk about stuff. And then if there's, like, an iconic moment in the fight, I could say this without being too many spoilers. A Curse of Strahd person could say, "How'd you guys do in the Amber Temple?" And those people are going to be like, "Oof. Oh God!" Right? Just hearing about the Amber Temple, they're going to be like, "Oh my God!"
Now.
Right. So the Amber Temple, that's right. So like anybody that's done Curse of Strahd, they have that memory of Amber Temple, and it was probably a little bit different because every game is different, and every group is different, and every DM is different. But they have that unifying thing, right? Like every Odyssey game has a different Kyra. Some groups don't even have a Kyra. They're like, "I don't like this lady, get her out of here." And the DM's like, okay. And so they just don't have a Kyra. They could have had a Kyra, but they have this kind of uniform, like, experience, right? Where it's like, "Oh, remember the Cerberus of the Forge? Do I ever? Oh my God," right? And so, like, that's the appeal of playing a pre-written adventure, I think, is to say that you did the thing. Right? We all climbed Mount Everest, right? We all did that thing together. For me, that was part of why I signed up for Dungeons of the Mad Mage, is because I love dungeons and I love super dungeons. I'm a weirdo. And I was like, I want to be able, for the rest of my life, to say that I did this dungeon. Now, admittedly, I never got to finish the dungeon, and I cry about it at least 3 times a week in the dark. I just turn off the lights, I cry a little bit. But, like, I wanted to say that I did that dungeon. Not any dungeon, that particular dungeon. So, like, I definitely understand. Like, Curse of Strahd, people have been asking me since Curse of Strahd came out to run Curse of Strahd, and I was like, no, because I want to play it. Like, I don't want to run it. And I could never get a group, and then I finally got a group, and the group fell apart, and I was like, that's it, I'm done, I'm finally going to run it. And right away, I have more views, more follows, more interest in Curse of Strahd than anything else that I've run, because it's iconic. It's an experience that other people have had. It's an experience that people want to have, and it's a phenomenon that everybody wants to be a part of. So, like, yeah. So that's the appeal of pre-written, in my opinion. Yeah. Now, going to the other side.
That's the point. Yeah, that's the reason why I whenever I've looked for up a game to play, I've always looked at pre-written adventures, even if it's not official, but something that that's been published and has at least some type of reputation. It doesn't have to be a big reputation, but just something that it can be held accountable.
Yeah. Now this backfires though, because WotC, Wizards of the Coast, in general, they I hate to say this though, they lucked into their success. 5e is a great system, and it's a fun system, but it's certainly not the best system. I mean, I think 4th edition was more fun. I think that 3.5 was good, if you can handle all the crunchiness. I think Pathfinder 2 is phenomenal. But Critical Role made the decision to switch from Pathfinder to D&D, and that irrevocably changed the timeline, in my opinion. The popularity that was gained from Critical Role brought all these new people into the hobby. The ease of access to the hobby, because 5e is, at its core, in my opinion, relatively simple. A lot of people say that's not true, but I still think that compared to a lot of systems, it's pretty simple. I know there's much simpler games out there, but just hear me out. Everybody was like, I want that. I want what Critical Role has. I want to be funny and cool and a voice actor, and I want to be surrounded by funny and cool and pretty and handsome people, and I want to go on an amazing adventure where we all care about each other, we all love each other, and it's super cool, it's super fun, it's super exciting. I want that. I want friends, and I want adventure. I want that. What I see right there. And what do they have? What product are they eating, drinking, playing? Dungeons and Dragons. And so D&D just blew up. And in the beginning, you can look at these earlier adventures. Phandelver, great adventure. Storm King's Thunder, one of the best. Curse of Strahd deserves all the accolades that it gets. A couple of problematic things here and there. It's a horror game. There's going to be that kind of stuff. Those are good. Those are good products. The stuff they've been releasing lately, it's not great. It's not great. Like, Rime had some really good stuff in it. And Witchlight had some great production values. But, like, they aren't in any way in the same category as Curse of Strahd and Storm King's Thunder. Like, those were top tier products. And it just feels like everything is dialed in. Like, because they know that they're the best. Like, they know that they're the most popular game. They know that they're the top game. And when that's the danger there, in my opinion, is when you do run a pre-written adventure and you run it raw, you're not necessarily running the best game. You know? Like, yeah, I feel like the best game is a game where, I mean, it sounds dumb, but where everyone's having fun and everyone feels like their time is well spent. And I think that a lot of these adventures, if you run them raw, there's going to be a lot of places that don't make sense. There's going to be a lot of places that drag. There's going to be a lot of things that they ask you to do that there's no real payoff for, that don't really make any sense. That's why DM's Guild exists and why Drive-Thru RPG exists, because people have to go in there and patch this product now. This has become a modded video game. 5th edition D&D has become Skyrim. Skyrim is great, but Skyrim was...
You're gonna get people upset when you say that.
I'm just saying, Skyrim is great, but Skyrim with mods is better. 5e is great, 5e with mods is better. That's just how it is. And that's where I think that the homebrew can kind of really come in and save the day. Here's the other thing that I think is interesting. Everybody wants that Critical Role experience. Everyone wants to live that Critical Role fantasy. But Critical Role doesn't run pre-written adventures, right? It's all homebrew. It's all homebrew. So, like, wouldn't the ultimate, like, fantasy be playing in an amazing homebrew game where your characters are the stars of the show and the story is written to incorporate you and all that jazz? You know what I'm saying? Like, that to me feels like the next step for paid DMs. A lot of the paid DMs that I'm interested in, a lot of the games that I'm interested in, I would love to play with some of these really charismatic, really clever, really interesting dungeon masters who have complete homebrew worlds, complete homebrew games. Sensei Suplex, for example, has an entire, like, Marvel Cinematic Universe world that they and their team have put together. And all the games build off of each other. All the players or player characters build off of each other. Everybody influences the world, the timeline, all of that. That sounds amazing to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's
the game that the Twitch tabletop RPG that pushed me over the edge and made me want, man, I need to do this, because I've never watched Critical Role. I didn't even know it existed until season 2 started. Campaign 2 started. But the one that got me over was a person who was running two simultaneous Star Wars Fate games, Fate Accelerated games.
Such a good system. Such a
one
fun
was dark side and one was light side, and they were both going at the same time. And whatever they did affected the other ones. So they would, one week it would be the light side people playing, the next week would be the dark side people playing, and whatever they did affected the next session.
That's awesome
for the next people. And so it was so good. It was really good. And so they played on Roll20 and went through that, and that's what, like, man, this is awesome. I want to do this. I want to, like, find, and that's how I started trying to play and get into look for games to sign up for and do stuff. But yeah, it is one of those things where it was a homebrew Star Wars adventure. That same DM did a homebrew 5th edition adventure where I think it was called Court of Swords. It was like a plane hopping one, where they went to the different like Sea of Brass and all that stuff, going through there. That was really awesome. It was really hard too. Like, they went through, like, characters and everything. Characters died. They had a TPK, and then they just come back as new characters in a different area, picking up where they left off on the last one. So it was really good. But yeah, all the ones that I've watched through that has gotten me into D&D have been homebrew campaigns. Like, I've watched. I hardly ever watch. The only pre-written adventure I've really watched is stuff I guess you've made, you've done.
Yeah, and I mean it. If you watch my games, if you watch our games, right, that we play,
Yeah.
and then you think to yourself, I'm gonna get into that campaign, maybe not with that DM, but I'm gonna find a DM to run me through Odyssey of the Dragonlords. I feel so bad because I feel like you're gonna be very disappointed. Because like, yeah, I'm running it from the book, but like I'm adding so much stuff to it. I've added so much stuff to it. It's like, yeah, yeah. Um, and yeah. So Burninghound points out, could it also be because of exception of 5e that WotC have to dial back stuff? I don't 100%. I'm trying to put all those words together in like a way that makes sense, but it reminded me of something that I wanted to bring up, which was why are the WotC adventures lately so stale, right? Um, and I think that a big part of it is they are trying to make a product for everyone, right? This isn't going to a really amazing corner, hole in the wall burger joint where they make the best. This isn't Bob. You're not going to Bob's Burgers, right? You're going to McDonald's and you're buying a Big Mac, right? WotC is making a mass-produced product that will be as sterile and as accessible and as universal as they possibly can, because they need as many people as possible to purchase this product, to play this product, to feel like they can do something with this product. And that, I think, is what has kind of caused this whole mod scene over at DM's Guild, right? Because Curse of Strahd was like, yo, here's an adventure about a really problematic dude. And I mean really problematic dude. And here's a bunch of messed up stuff that this dude did and he does to your guys. Do you like S&M? Because that's what this campaign is about, baby. Get ready to be in an abusive relationship for the next 12 to 18 months. Like, that's Curse of Strahd. Now, you get a campaign that's like, well, there's some bad guys. They're not totally bad. No one's really bad, am I right? If you look in your heart, everyone could be good or bad, I guess. Anyways, you're in hell and it's kind of bad, but it's not really that bad, because is hell really that bad? I don't know. Whatever. Here's an adventure that's sort of in hell, but maybe not. And there's stuff, I don't know. Do whatever you want with it. And that's the Avernus campaign. Yeah, and so on and so forth. It's like that, right? And so you as the DM are like, oof, okay, there's not a lot here. I purchased this book for $30, and then I purchased the Roll20 module for $50, and there's just not a lot here. And the stuff that is here doesn't really make a lot of sense, and it's not very impactful. And so you go onto the message boards, and you go onto the Discords, and you go onto DM's Guild to buy extra stuff. You go onto the subreddits to get tips on how to make it more exciting and more engaging. But a lot of those suggestions are too risky for a company like WotC to do nowadays. Yeah. And that's where it really starts to fall apart, I think, is in order to offend the least amount of people while also selling the most amount of products, they really are just making these very cardboard stand-up adventures that just, yeah.
It's like they're like selling you like a I don't know, a steak, and it just has salt and pepper on it.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
But and then over on DM's Guild, you can pick any other type of
right.
Want to add to this steak.
Yeah. Did you want onions and mushrooms on your steak? Oh, well, you should. Yeah.
You're allergic to mushrooms and onions? Well, we didn't put it on here. You have to go get it yourself if you want to put it on.
Yeah. Can't say it's our fault if you had an allergic reaction to the mushrooms, because we never put it on your steak. You went and got that yourself from the DM's Guild, which we still got half of the money for without doing any work, by the way. Yeah, no, it's the DM's Guild and homebrewing, in a way, is kind of killing the pre-written adventure a little bit. At least the official one. Yeah. So, like, I guess that's a good thing, though, because it gives you a template, and then you have a lot of options to flavor how you want for your own game if you don't have the
capacity or the time or the effort to try and make it that yourself. Because yeah,
Right.
you might get an adventure, and they might put in a lot of work and make it a really great adventure, but it may not work for your table. And you bought the book, it's really good, but maybe the stuff is too of an issue for your table, and then now you have to do work to try and try and change it yourself. But I mean, if it was never maybe there's work to make it better, but not work to make it different.
I
don't know. Silver lining, trying to find a silver lining in this.
My advice for new DMs, because I do get asked, I'm a new DM, I've never done it before ever. What should I do? I want to be Matt Mercer. It's like, well, of course you do. We all do. Just so that we could make out with Mercer. Anyways, so why? What do you want, right? They're like, well, I want to write my own adventure. I want to tell the greatest story that there ever was. It's like, cool, but you've never DM'd before. I think you should run a pre-written adventure. Yeah. And they're like, but that's a lot of reading. And it's like, listen, here's the benefit of a pre-written adventure. If you are tired, if you are stressed, if your job picks up hours, if your life starts to fall apart, if your dog gets sick and you don't have time to prep, you still have the skeleton of the adventure that is the pre-written adventure to fall back on. If you're homebrewing the entire campaign, it is all on you all the time. And that is a lot of pressure, and it doesn't feel good when life starts to get crazy, to know that like you still have to carry the entire world, the entire game, the entire story on your back, in your mind. Treating the adventure as the skeleton of your campaign, and then homebrewing changes to it, is the best way to get started as a dungeon master, in my opinion. Talk to your group, see what they're interested in. They're like, yeah, man, I want to play something where there's like not a lot of role playing and a ton of fighting. I want to fight big stuff all the time. And it's like, okay, cool. We're going to play Storm King's Thunder, or we're going to play, I don't know, I think Red Hand of Doom is honestly the best one for just fighting shit all the time. And then they say, you know what? There's a lot of fighting going on. Maybe we could like try some role playing. It's like, okay. And then you could go and start practicing as a DM to homebrew some encounters in there. Add some role play encounters. Add some story encounters. Ask the players, like, well, what else does your character want to do besides stop the Red Hand? And they're like, oh, well, I want to find my father who went missing when I was a child. And the DM's like, sweet, okay. That's not covered by the adventure, obviously. And now you have a chance to homebrew a little bit. But you don't have to homebrew the entire campaign. Honestly, the best Dungeons & Dragons is a beautiful hybrid of those things, I say. But we're getting closer to the end, so I think we should probably end with, as of now, what is your preference as a DM, and what is your preference as a player, and why?
Okay, so my preference as a DM is definitely having something pre-written and then making adjustments to it, to make it more fun at my table. I like having a skeleton to work with, because I'm not a writer. I'm not a story, an author or something like that. So coming up with I'm good at editing, if that makes sense. Like, you have an idea and I need to make adjustments to it. I'm pretty good at that, and that's a skill set that I've honed and I'm confident in. So I'd rather have something to work with, give me a Play-Doh that's already shaped into something, and I could put the finer details inside of it. So as a DM, that's what I prefer. As a player, I've never played in a fully homebrew campaign, so I wouldn't know I wouldn't be able to have a way to do that. But I guess I could, like, if Odyssey's an example of something that's been modified so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with it. Like, I think it's great too. For me, it's the people and the DM and the overarching theme of the campaign. If it fits within like the themes that I like, then I'm fine with it, I think, as a player. At least now. Before, it was like I only looked for pre-written adventures. because I had something to find out, make sure, because I don't have a lot of time and I don't want to waste it. So I want to make sure I have something that at least I know is has some type of backing behind it.
All right, fair enough.
For you?
So so I'm as always, I'm a huge hypocrite. So I say that you should totally get a pre-written adventure and then you should homebrew it to kind of build your DM skills and all that. I say that. But like I used to be pretty active on the Odyssey of the Dragon Lord's DM Discord. And I am so thankful for the time that I spent there and the friends that I made there and the amazing ideas that we all came up with as a community and we collaborated on and the amazing like homebrew that we built for that game.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I have completed the first run with Prime and they're in the post game and like nobody is running the post game as written, and the people that did run it as written were like, well, that was terrible. So that's basically all homebrew at this point, with just like maybe like 10% pre-written and like 90% homebrew. Anyways, I look at some of the homebrew ideas that people have, and I'm like, I kind of like cringe. I'm like, oh my god, that's horrible. Like that was a pretty good encounter as written, and you just ruined it. But like, I don't want to say that. I don't want to be discouraging. I don't want to say, hey, you just ruined this game. I've had people tell me that I've ruined a game by changing it, and it doesn't feel good. And I certainly don't want to tell other people that. But I feel like if I as a player signed up for a pre-written game and it deviated too much from the original intent of the pre-written product, I would be pretty salty, honestly. But like, for example, if we were playing Rhyme and you were like, okay, cool, but now you're in Planescape, I'd be like, well,
okay, yeah.
yeah. It's like,
at that point, that's
yeah. Yeah. So like, I don't know. I don't know. Like,
you're not playing Rhyme of the Frostmaiden anymore after that. You're
right.
doing this is not part of the scope, like that little area that Wati puts in, that like this is beyond the scope of this adventure. At that point, if you go down that hole and you're in this other adventure, then you're not playing Rhyme of Frostmaiden.
Like, I want to stay in the scope and I want to stay in the flavor of what was advertised, right?
Yeah.
But and as a DM, when I run a game, I want to I like running pre-written campaigns because I like the security that comes from having it already there. I like the strength of the foundation of something popular that people are drawn to. But then I do like to change it. And I feel like I'm always in danger of breaking my own quality assurance there, right? Like, I am worried that I am going to take it too far away from the original intent of the adventure. I'm going to take it too far away from the original theme of the adventure. I'm going to meme it up too much, right? Because I put a lot of silly, memey stuff in my games. And so, like, I always have to kind of dial that back and kind of pay attention to that, because there is that temptation to just kind of take things in a completely different direction. And then at that point, you are no longer honoring the original product, and you're no longer honoring the commitment that you made to the players that you would run that story. So that's where the homebrew can get a little bad, in my opinion.
I think that's the line between the where your scale that you made before, the bottom one where you're completely improvising, and the one right above it, where it's you made it up, but but like if I like had made a completely homebrew campaign, but I had a structure to it, and I kept to that structure, and I advertised that, hey, this campaign is about this. It's a homebrew campaign, but this is what we're talking about, and this is what this campaign's about. If you go and start playing this campaign and it doesn't follow that structure anymore, then I mean that's just a matter of you not following. It's a different campaign. You're switching campaigns on them. It's not so much homebrew. It's just at that point you're just switching campaigns. You're not just homebrewing.
As a player, I would love and have loved playing in fully homebrew campaigns. If the DM is good. But I'm kind of at a point now where if the DM is just willing to stick it out, that means more to me than whether it's a written adventure or a homebrew adventure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you're running a homebrew adventure with Monster Hunter. Like, you're
Yeah.
running 100% homebrew,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm enjoying it. It is at times a bit slower than I would like because of
Yeah.
the building,
Crafting.
the crafting and the building mechanics and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But the monster designs, the immersion through like the foundry stuff that you're using, the beautiful maps, the camaraderie of getting our butts kicked every week, that kind of stuff I'm really enjoying. And I know that, and you've proven this to me, that I can depend on you to run that campaign to the end, right? Or to what would be a satisfying end. Even if, you decided, hey, I got to call this early, I feel like you are still a stand-up enough person that you would finish it well, right? You wouldn't
Yeah.
just be like, I can't do this anymore, and just bail.
Mm-hmm.
To me as a player, honestly, my standards have gotten to the point where, like, maybe that's enough at this point. Like, just somebody that shows up and does the work every week until the campaign is over. Yeah, but if I had an ideal world, I would run my own homebrew world, and I would play in somebody else's homebrew world, and that would be it. I would run one game a week in my world, telling my stories the way I want to, and then I would play in somebody else's world, and I would try to exist and thrive and explore that world with them. Like, that would be perfect for me. Like, that's what I.
A lot of online DMs are doing that now. Like they have their own setting, and they run campaigns inside their setting.
Because you want to stand out. You want to stand out, and you also don't want to lose 50% of all your money and all of your IP control to the DM's Guild.
Yeah.
Like, I love Planescape, and I'd like to run Planescape when it comes out, but if I do Planescape and I decide, hey, I'm going to turn this all these adventures I'm writing into Planescape adventures, okay, I just lost 50% of all the money I make from selling those adventures, and technically at any point WotC could be like, oh, this is pretty good, we're just going to take it. Yeah, so like, and you're still running an official WotC product. These people that are innovating and starting to do their own worlds and their own homebrew and their own games, they're trying to find a way to stand out in the crowd. Everybody plays D&D now. Everybody plays tabletop. Thanks to pandemic, everybody's playing online now. Everybody's streaming now. Everybody's trying to be the next Critical Role now. And so what do you do? What do you do to stand out? What do you do to say, like, this is me, this is what I do, this is what I'm bringing to the table? You've watched Curse of Strahd 7 times already with 7 different groups and 7 different DMs. You're not going to watch my Curse of Strahd game, right? Like, why would you do that? Like, you only have so much time in the day. You're not going to watch another Curse of Strahd actual play. That's crazy. There's so many good Curse of Strahd actual plays out there. For me, I'm running Curse of Strahd to get it done. To say, I did it. The quote-unquote best 5th edition WotC adventure of all time, I can say I ran it, and then when DMs want to talk about it, I can be like, cool, let's talk about it. I ran it. But after that is over, I don't know if I want to run any more pre-written adventures. I don't know if that's worth doing. I think it's time to start telling entirely new stories and entirely new worlds. I think it's time to let go of that skeleton, right, and just build everything fresh and new. I don't know.
I mean, if you want to be, if that's your creative thing, go for it. I know for me, I'm not a, like, because I'm not a, I don't find myself as a storyteller. I like being creative, but maybe being creative in like more of a visual medium than telling a story or coming up with a story. So for me, I don't feel like I need to, but I mean, this is also like a more professional thing for you too, DMing, and it helps. So, I mean, I would say go for it. You have enough with all the work that you've done, and all the experience you have. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work out.
Also, in like 2020, didn't we like build an entire world, right? The Gothic horror world. Was that 2020 or 2021? I don't know. But we like on stream for like 30 weeks. Every week we built an entire homebrew world. So yeah. So I mean, it's already there. Might as well start doing something with it. And by the time I'm done running three Curse of Strahd games, I should be pretty good on running horror and Gothic horror. So yeah. I don't know. It's pretty exciting.
I mean,
So,
if you like Planescape so much, make your Gothic horror just one plane,
that's true. It's true.
and
Yeah.
then next time you want to move over and make another setting, just make it another plane in your CRASHDOM tabletop universe.
Kind of pulling Magic the Gathering there, huh?
Hmm.
Like, yeah, just
I
keep
mean, most of the online DMs that are making their own worlds, that's pretty much what they're doing. They have a bunch of planets
a
or a bunch of
bunch of
area.
small worlds that are kind of tied together.
Yeah.
That was kind
So
of
that
the purpose of
that's
Radiant Citadel, I think. Radiant Citadel was supposed to be like a mini Planescape.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like this way you can have some variety if you want. So you're not always doing horror. You can go to something else, but it's still your setting, and maybe you just have some crossover.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. Oh, speaking about pre-written stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So because I've been so into Cyberpunk Red, I've been looking at the way they do pre-written,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
official pre-written stuff, and a lot of their stuff are like 1 page, 2 page documents for their whole adventure.
Oh, it's just guidepost, right? It says
Yeah,
this
it's
is what
like
you're trying to get done.
this
Yeah.
is what the players know. Is you like 2 paragraphs or 1 paragraph, and then this is the adventure, and it's just like a short story, and that's all they give you. Um, and like they say, like, oh, you know what, use the character's life. So in Red, part of character creation
Mhm.
is rolling on a bunch of tables to find out what your backstory is.
Right, right.
And it's like built in, like you have to do it. They say you have to do it because you need to know, like inside that thing you find out if you have friends or like tragic love stories or stuff like that. And in their pre-written adventures they say like, okay, maybe you can use a friend from somebody's backstory here, or here you can use a tragic love story from somebody's backstory here, things like that.
See, I really like that, and I was talking about this. I don't remember when. I've been in like a hyper focused time warp sort of thing,
Mhm.
but the last 8 days that I've been writing this adventure, I think I streamed. I don't remember when, earlier this week, and I was like, yeah, there's a huge difference between writing for publication and then writing for yourself, right?
Yeah.
What you're describing, that's what the notes for any one of my adventures looks like when I run an adventure. Anybody that's on my Patreon that has access to my the ramblings of a madman that are my Google Docs with my notes, it's just bulleted lists. They're all checklist and bulleted lists, and it says when they get here, try to cover these things. Make sure you hit these things, or at least try your best. Like that's it. That's all my notes are. And that's what Mercer's notes are. Mercer has shared his notes, and it's a piece of paper, and it says try to do these things. That's it. It's just the story beats. It's an incredibly freeing experience. It's wonderful. I love the idea of a published adventure that just says, "Hey, man, try to get them to do these things." The end. I mean, how freeing is that, right? They're acknowledging that the pre-written adventure is a skeleton, and they are saying put whatever meat and skin on this thing that you want. In fact, we need you to do that because the game is too big for us to ever write around all of the things that your characters are capable of doing. And that's also a modern thing. Remember in Witchlight Isekai when you guys went back to Coast City? And I just said, like, I don't have any maps. I don't have anything, right? It's all theater of the mind. I'm going to throw up pictures to help us stay grounded and immersed. But, like, there's no way that I could prepare for every possible thing that could happen in the real world. Because, like, you guys have the internet, you have cell phones, you have Ubers, you have cars, you have airplanes. And then you go into the future. And so you've got teleporters and you've got robot parts and you've got robots and and then you go even further into the future and you've got time travel and you've got aliens and you've got more teleporting and you've got wormholes and you've got lightspeed travel and
there's like a huge like discussion for the site because I've been going through the Cyberpunk Red Reddit, and so there's always a discussion about homebrew versus, or not homebrew, but maps versus theater of mind for this system. And so many people are like, we need to, like, I just do everything theater of mind because
Mhm.
with when you're in like a place like this, one, there's not a lot of support for it because
Yeah.
modern and cyber and like future stuff is not. It's really hard to find maps, but because it's so you can. Oh, I need to get across the city. All right, I get a car. You get a car and you get across the city. Like, or I get a
Right, right,
flying
right.
vehicle. I get across the. Oh, I need to go across state. Okay, you just you fly in a plane across state. Like, it's hard to like, get all that in like a way you could like, you know,
Yeah, like
there's no way no one can prepare for that.
when I used to play World of Darkness, and Alexa, stop the timer. All right, so we got to stop soon because
Oh yeah,
Alexa. Yeah.
we're starting
All
we're
right.
starting to ramble too.
Yeah. So, yeah, when I played World of Darkness, and one of the stats on your character was wealth, right? You could start level. There weren't levels, but you could start level 1 as a millionaire. Well, like, how do you plan around that? Like, what do you even do, right? So that's why that whole system was very like theater of the mind. Like, okay, I have a problem here. It's like, cool, can I solve it with my millions of dollars? You know what I mean? Like, in a modern setting, in a future setting, in a far future setting, there's so many convenience features far beyond magic. The only comparison, Jared pointed out in chat, is high level D&D, right? High level D&D, they basically have unlimited spell slots, and they can cast reality altering magic anytime they want. Why would you make maps for those encounters unless they are encounters that everybody is kind of agreed that they're going to run? Like, it's impossible to prep detailed VTT for that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, we did kind of go off script there. But I like the idea, and I'm gonna definitely, after we play Sunday morning, Cyberpunk, I'd love to take a look at how some of those adventures are formatted, because that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, so the final take. My final take is, for new DMs, definitely find a pre-written campaign and then experiment with homebrewing that campaign. That way you have a strong foundation and you have a strong skeleton to fall back on if you get confused, frustrated, tired, stressed, whatever. And worst case scenario, you could throw the adventure under the bus. If everyone's like, this sucks, you're like, well, I mean, it's the adventure's fault. It's not my fault. I personally, my personal goal, probably for next year, is to do more homebrew and less pre-written adventures as I start 3 Curse of Strahd games. But these will be, I think, my last pre-written games are the Curse of Strahd games, and I am going to start focusing more on homebrew stuff. And that's my final take. What's yours?
I 100% agree. If you're new, and this is what I did when I really was like, okay, I'm gonna DM, and that was Rhyme. I went through Rhyme, but I also did a crap ton of homebrew inside Rhyme. But a lot of it was also just the adventure. And what I had to do, the main reason why I had to do some homebrew too, is because you guys did different stuff,
right?
That the adventure didn't cover. So I had to I don't know if this is a spoiler, but the tiefling that you met them. You met them in a place that you weren't supposed to meet them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I had to make changes. You had to make changes, and that's gonna happen. And so, having a good skeleton though, so I know you have to meet that character, but I can change where you guys meet them. So there's some changes, there's some adjustments you can do, and then all the monsters that I redid. So yeah, I do think for a first time DM, get a pre-written adventure, see the encounters, go through them a couple of times, and then you'll after playing through some of them, you'll see how your party goes and stuff like that, and then you can probably make tweaks. That's how it starts.
And the other takeaway, if you're doing a pre-written campaign, do not feel like it's the boss of you. Yeah. You are the boss of it. Like, you decide what you use and what you don't use. You decide how you do it. It is a set of guidelines about the adventure. It is not the rules of the adventure. Yeah. All right.
And then I'm running. I rather run a pre-written and make adjustments to it because I don't want to have to. I'm not a writer.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not either, but I'm gonna try to be. So that's my goal. All right. Well, we have a very packed weekend of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm playing 4 games this weekend. So Saturday morning we got Red Hand of Doom. Saturday night I'm running The Haunting of Lantern Heights for Extra Life, and that's the one that I wrote myself. And then Sunday morning, we're doing Cyberpunk 2077 with you, also supporting Extra Life. And then Sunday night, we got Mythic. So anybody out there, if you are looking for something to do tomorrow night, 7 p.m. to midnight Eastern, I have 1 or 2 spots available in my Haunted House adventure. It is all money from it is supporting Extra Life. So please hit me up on Discord or Twitter or wherever, and I will get you into that game so that, you know, you can play a spooky haunted house adventure. And then we also
have 2 spots open for Cyberpunk on Sunday morning. So if you want to try out a different system, come on down. I have 10 pre-made characters. Everybody can choose one, and we're gonna go through the pre-written adventure that they set up.
All right.
For trying it out.
Sounds good. And then, of course, 2 weeks from now, Extra Life. Less than 2 weeks. It starts at 9 a.m. So less than 2 weeks from now, we got Extra Life. So look for more information on that. All right. Hope everybody has a safe and healthy weekend. And we'll see you guys next time.
All right.